The Fallout TV series will be viewable on Twitch. Disgraced Sonic creator Yuji Naka is back firing shots. And you can finally add retro console emulators to your iPhone. I'm Matt Simpson. This is Jinx News. Good news! We're buying more video games! Hooray! 26% more in the UK compared to last month. This has mainly been led by Helldivers 2, the runaway success of 2024 so far. Having sold more than 8 million copies already, it's outstripping even Spider-Man 2 in terms of sales numbers for a first-party Sony IP. But it's not alone. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth also saw strong sales figures following its release at the end of February, as has Dragon's Dogma 2. In fact, the latter game is actually outperforming Rebirth, despite many people's nostalgia for Cloud, Tifa and the rest. I'd almost certainly put it down to being able to throw your friends off cliffs. There's also a bizarre abundance of Command & Conquer games doing gangbusters over the past few weeks. That may seem completely out of left field, but actually, a massive bundle of them dropped on Steam in March, and many people have a real soft spot for the classic RTS franchise. To be honest, it just gives us a chance to watch the single greatest cutscene in video game history again. Space! But what comes up must come down. And sadly, it's not all roses and puppies for the industry. Specifically, I'm talking about retail, as iconic British video game outlet Game has announced a massive round of layoffs. We don't know the exact numbers that will be let go as of yet, but most staff that will be kept on will be shifted onto 0 hours contracts. If you put this alongside the fact that most stores have closed down and been moved into the corners of Sports Direct and House of Fraser, and the fact they've stopped doing physical game trade-ins, then this all seems to be heading in one direction. Before I started out doing this for a living, I actually worked at a game store. So this story has a bit of a personal touch for me. I sort of feel like I'm watching the slow death of a friend. Maybe we should look at that Dragon's Dogma 2 clip again. By now, we all know Amazon's Fallout TV show drops in just a few days. And they're really tapping into the fandom behind the games by airing it on Twitch. Yep, at the exact time it'll be viewable on Amazon Prime, viewers can watch it on the streaming platform, alongside some pretty big content creators, including Shroud, Dan's Gaming, and Gassy Mexican. I've never heard of the last one, but it sounds like me after a dinner at Chiquitos. Judging from fans' reactions, the TV show could be sticking pretty close to the source material, which is probably a good thing. Mutants, the Brotherhood of Steel, that iconic shot of the protagonist leaving the vault. It's all looking good, despite the criticisms of this ridiculously handsome ghoul. And it sounds like Amazon feel the same way, because they've already renewed it for a second season, despite the public having not even seen it yet. A huge part of that is because the California Film Commission has awarded over $150 million to a number of TV shows, with Fallout Season 2 receiving $25 million of that. So while Season 1 was shot in parts of New York and Utah, which makes sense considering most of it takes place in a barren wasteland, at least part of Season 2 will be filmed in California. Now, could that mean that we'll be seeing a wee bit more colour in the next season? New Vegas vibes, perhaps? What do you think? You excited for the Fallout TV show? Let us know down below. You may remember last year that the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog, Yuji Naka, was sentenced to 30-month suspended prison sentence for insider trading, basically making money in shares by knowing what was going on inside Square Enix during his time there. Well, around the time of his initial indictment, Naka went quiet on all his social media platforms, probably to avoid putting his foot in his mouth or screwing up his legal defense. Well, now he's back, baby, and he is not messing around. In a post on Twitter, he called out fellow game director Yu Miyake for essentially lying in court during Naka's trial. Quoting a report detailing Miyake's removal from his role as the director of the Dragon Quest series, Naka said, "I hope he'll be gone soon, because he's the kind of person who submitted a memo with lies with evidence to court. I've never met him, but the new president seems like a good person." Cut to that clip of Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec. Making accusations that someone lied in court is a big deal, especially when you're serving a sentence for that said crime. But for Naka to break his public silence to make this statement clearly shows how firmly he believes this. Then again, the judge in his trial described Naka as someone who showed no signs of remorse. So you can feel free to make your own judgments on his character for yourself. Mobile gaming has something of a bad reputation. But there have been many attempts to make mobile platforms a healthier place to play games. Apple created its arcade, a curated collection of single-player games that included some real gems. A huge amount of work has gone into mobile ports of big titles, like Fortnite, PUBG, and Call of Duty. And a bunch of clever so-and-sos have worked tirelessly to create emulators that allow players to play classic games on their mobile devices. Well, if you have an Android anyway. Apple are notoriously protective of iOS, and have been very restrictive of third-party apps being developed on their operating system. But when it comes to emulators, that's now changed, as Apple confirmed in a blog post that it will now permit retro game console emulator apps on the App Store. Emulation has always been something of a touchy subject in games, owing to how they've traditionally been used as a way to pirate titles. But many have always been under the assumption that they're illegal, but actually they're not. There's nothing wrong with simulating old gaming technology on modern hardware, nor porting old games onto them to play them on modern machines. The only issue is downloading these game ports illegally online. But if you own those old games, then emulate away! And now you can put them on your iPhone and play them there too. As an Android user myself, I've always had the option to emulate games, and so I'm glad iPhone users now have the chance to do the same. So, dust off your old PS1 copy of Symphony of the Night, dig out that Super Mario Galaxy disc from your parents' attic, and place that order on a GBA converter to upload your Pokemon collection. You can now take it with you wherever you go. I need to get a phone out for that last time. I was doing so well. And that's the show. If you liked what you saw, please consider signing up to our Patreon, where we've got loads of stuff from our back catalogue, as well as some exclusive new content. Brand new episodes of the first hour, behind the scenes stuff. It's really worth it and helps us keep the lights on. Ash will be back tomorrow, so we'll see you then.